Today I'm going to be taking you through the floor plan layout of my tiny house. The intent of this video is to give you the reasons behind some of the design choices I made for my build. That way it can help you when you're making your own design choices for a build of your own. This is a picture of the floor plan for the ground level of my tiny house. I'll just start at the intro doorway here. So if you come into the tiny house, to your right hand side you'll have this big love sack couch that's here. Most of the couches that you see in tiny houses look very, very uncomfortable. They're very boxy. One of the things I wanted in my tiny house was a really comfortable area for doing some reading or maybe watching a movie. As you continue along, we have a big countertop space here. You can see this takes up a significant chunk of floor space in my tiny house. That's because I love to cook. So I have a big deep sink here in my kitchen, plenty of countertop for prepping food. Next to it, you'll notice we have a full-size range that's there with a big oven. Again, I love to cook, so this is a very important aspect for me. You'll notice the kitchen area is pretty open in my house. Another important design element for my tiny house was that I wanted to have a decent sized bathroom area. If you walk through this bathroom door here, there's a small corner sink that's in there. I think it's important to have a sink in the bathroom to be able to wash your hands. Just as a sanitary thing, I don't like the idea of leaving the bathroom without washing my hands. I also have my shower here in the corner. It's a nice, good sized shower. Next to the shower, we have, of course, the toilet. I put a compost toilet in this tiny house to try. That seems to be the trendy thing to do with most tiny houses. However, I did plumb the tiny house for water as well. In the event that I wasn't a fan of the composting toilet, I'd be able to swap that out fairly easily. As I continue along, we have the electrical box down here on this lower level, back in the corner here. Mainly that allows me a good place to tie into the outside of the tiny house to supply electricity once this thing's parked. The front end of the trailer is down here where my mouse is, and the doorway end would be the rear of the trailer. Continuing along, we have the washer dryer combo. This is one unit that both washes a load and then dries the load in the same basket area. So it doesn't take up much space. They are rather expensive though. I think this unit in particular was around $1,300. Moving on to the next, we have a mini fridge. The stairs actually kind of come down over the top of that, and then this staircase area is actually a big platform that we have there, and that mainly just covers the wheel well that's over here on this side of the tiny house. So it's important to remember to cover up those wheel wells with something. On my opposite side, the countertops cover it. On this side, my staircase covers it. As I continue along, we have my epoxy table. It's a standing desk. It also has a dry erase board to the back here that also duals as a projector screen. And so that's an area where I get a lot of work done, where I can plan out material, where I can write on that board. This is the upper loft layout. This will be the center section that we see downstairs. There is a big skylight here in the center that's positioned so that I don't need to use lights a lot in the kitchen unless it's dark out. Of course, we have the kitchen cabinets that are here centered up in that area. In the main upper loft, we have the bed. One super important design element to me was that I had a walkway to my bed. I always hate in tiny houses when they have a ladder here that you have to climb up and kind of get into bed there. I'm a pretty tall guy, so climbing up a ladder to duck into bed just didn't sound appealing to me at all whatsoever. As you can see, our walkway is basically right here where my mouse is coming across, and that would allow me to walk on this high side of this slant roof without having to duck to get into bed. I also have a full-size dresser on the end here. So in reality, I can roll out of bed and get dressed in this walkway before heading downstairs, which is something that most people can't do in their tiny houses. Up high on the wall is the HVAC unit. This is one of the few design elements that I would probably change if I had to go back and redo this build. It's located at a spot really high up on the wall, and what it does is when it blows hot air out, the hot air just stays up in these lofts up here. It doesn't really ever get down to the lower areas of the tiny house. So I've had to supplement the heat on the lower story by having an electric heater down on the floor area. As we continue along, you can see this is my ladder, and the ladder just goes from the platform here up to the storage loft. The storage loft could dual as another area to put another bed up there. It has enough room for a mattress. I love the idea of just having an open area for storage. Oftentimes in tiny houses, they have every last little bit is planned out in the tiny house. And honestly, sometimes when I get done with a job or done with work for the day, I don't want to have to go put everything back in its little cubby. I can always put a big storage tote up there to store clothes or tools or anything else that kind of doesn't have a regular place in the house. I know my layout isn't for everybody, but that's the greatest part about tiny houses is you can customize it to fit your lifestyle. I hope this video gives you some ideas on how you can design your own tiny house layout to fit your needs. Please give this video a thumbs up and don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you on the next video.